What is up, everyone? My name is Zach Sopak, and today I'm going to give you a quick and easy tutorial on how to make YouTube thumbnails that stand out so that way people click on your videos. Let's get into it. Like I said, my name is Zach Sopak, and I'm a content creator who wants to help you take your creativity to the next level with tips, tricks, tutorials, reviews, and more. And if you're new to this channel, I just want to say welcome. And if you get some value out of this video, consider subscribing and leave a like on the video. Okay, so we all know that thumbnails are super important. It's the first thing that people see before they even click to watch your video. So you want to make sure that your thumbnails stand out and that they draw people's attention so that way they click on your video instead of someone else's. So I'm going to give you just a couple of tips on how to make really good thumbnails, and we're going to walk through the steps together. But by the time you're done watching this video, you're going to have all the tools that you need to start making some really awesome, high quality thumbnails. So there are really only two main elements to a thumbnail, and if you need to, if you can't remember them, go ahead and get your pen and paper, write this down. It's the picture and the text. The picture will have the subject or will have yourself in the image, and the text should be reinforcing whatever it is that you're trying to convey in a very short and brief message. So even though thumbnails are simple in their makeup with just those two things, you want to make sure that you're doing a few best practices every time you go to do a thumbnail. Let's go ahead and start going through the steps. We're going to first get our photo. Now there are really two ways where you can get an image for your thumbnail. You can either go into your video, you can do a screen grab, or the preferred method that I like is taking a separate photo with a high quality camera. Now I'll throw this out too. When I say high quality camera, I don't mean it has to be a nice camera that's over $1,000 or something. It could easily be your smartphone. You can get some really high quality images just from this. So whatever camera you use, go ahead, set it up on a tripod, have some way to take a picture of yourself, whether it's with a timer or whether you're using a phone app to control your camera, whatever it is, get a friend, get somebody else involved into the mix. Just have some way of getting the photo of yourself. Once you have that settled, find a background that's not too distracting, because when people are scrolling through and you want to give them a message very quickly, you don't want them to be distracted or have the background fighting with the message of what you're trying to convey quickly. Maybe it's just a blank wall, maybe it's a bookshelf or something like that. I'm not sure what your setup is. For this purpose, I'm going to use this paper backdrop that is set up here in my office, and this will be the simple backdrop where text is going to easily pop out on. So you got your camera, you got your background. The next thing you want to do is you want to compose your shot. So if you're going to be in the image as I am as the subject matter, I'm either going to have myself in the center of the frame or just off to the right of the frame. Now the reason you're going to do this is because YouTube puts a little time code down in the bottom right corner of the thumbnails of every single video on the platform. And so if you have any important information, you don't want it to be down here. So I'm willing to sacrifice this portion, and I'm going to be over here to the side, because then I'm going to be drawing attention to either the text or the subject, whatever it is in my video. It may seem a little silly to just kind of like stand here and point or do whatever, but it's going to be really good because it's going to draw attention to the text that I put on the screen. So let's take a few images. So you notice that I'm doing a bit of these crazy, weird, silly faces for these images, and that's actually done with a purpose. And the reason why you see this all over YouTube is because it's invoking some form of emotion, which is actually really important, because emotion and evoking emotion is one of the easiest ways that you can connect with your audience. So go right ahead, use it for yourself. Bet people will click on it. Okay, so now that we have our image, we're gonna bring it into Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop, but you can use Canva, any sort of other graphic design editors, free or paid for. We're gonna do just a few simple things to it to make it stand out with the colors, and then we're gonna add our text. First thing you're gonna want to do is make sure that your dimensions are set properly for your graphic. Go ahead and change the width to 1920 pixels. wide and 1080 pixels high. This is the standard size for YouTube thumbnails. So we're going to go ahead and create. All right, now that we have our document created, I'm gonna bring in my photo. I just airdropped it from my phone. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stretch this so that way I'm filling up the entire frame. Now, Photoshop gives you a lot of really great tools to manipulate your photos. One of my favorite things to do is to use the Camera Raw filter, which basically gives you all of the controls that you would be familiar with Lightroom, or if you do any photo editing in Photoshop. So in order to use the Camera Raw filter, all you do is you go up to the top where you have your filter gallery, and we're going to select Camera Raw filter. So let's go ahead, we're going to mix with the contrast a little bit, and I think I'll take my highlights up some, shadows maybe a little, make sure my whites are good, drop the blacks a little. If you're using Photoshop in the Camera Raw, if you hit P, it's going to show you the before and after. So I'm going to hit P. So this is our before, this is our after, looking pretty good. One other great slider to use is clarity. Clarity adds even a little bit more of that separation with your lights and your darks. And then dehaze also adds some nice bit of contrast while adding some saturation. The one other thing that I like to do is go into my detail and add sharpening to the image. And one of my other favorite things to do with this method is to go into your effects and go to vignetting, and we're going to bring in the vignette. It just kind of draws more attention into the center of the frame. Let's take a little before and after. This is the image before we did our edits. This is the image after. Just pops a bit more, something that should jump out on people's screens as you're scrolling through. So now that we're done with that, we're gonna hit OK. And then now we're going to add our text. One thing that you want to avoid with your text on your thumbnails is adding too much text to it. Just keep in mind that a lot of people view this on mobile and they're scrolling through very quickly. You want to make sure that you're not giving them a paragraph to try to figure out what your video is about. You want to make sure that your text on your thumbnail is no more than 5 words. I think 3 words is the sweet spot. Just kind of 3 bold words that give people the idea of what your video is all about. Now this right here is pretty good on its own, but if you want to do something to make your text pop out a little bit more, you can get a shape. I like to use white and black as contrast. So I'm just getting my black here, and I'm going to create a rectangle right behind the text. And you can see it makes everything pop out all the more. So you can see the difference that these little blocks make. I'm gonna take them away real quick. Looks good. Nothing wrong with this thumbnail at all, but adding in the black bars just makes it pop so much. Okay, so we're looking pretty good right now, but I want to take it to another level, and I want to add in the YouTube logo. So I've already found a PNG file on Google, and I'm gonna just drop that in and show you how to make that pop. So here we are. I got my PNG from Google. I'm gonna drop it in, click OK. Now it's too large. I'm gonna hit Command T on a Mac so that way I can transform this guy down to proper size. Now unfortunately we're in a place where the logo now, because of the background that I shot it on, the logo doesn't quite pop. I mean, the red symbol always pops, but not that black text. So what can we do? Well, we can go ahead and do the same thing with our text, where if we just want to, we can create a square and put it behind it. So in this scenario, I'm using a white rectangle because of the black text. That's gonna help it pop. This does a really good job. Another one of my favorite things that you can do in Photoshop in particular is you can add what's called an outer glow. So if you go to the layer, you're gonna double click on it, and then you go to this outer glow thing in your styles menu. Now I've already preset it, but here you can mess around with opacity of the effect. You can change the color of the glow on the outside. I like to use white. You also mess with the spread and determine how big you want this thing to be along with the size. So go ahead, play with it and see what you like best. Okay, so now that we have this all edited, we're gonna export it and get it ready for YouTube. On Photoshop, you go File, Export, Export As. You can use either JPEGs or PNGs. PNGs tend to look a bit better. I'm gonna export that to the desktop. So now let's put this on a video. For this purpose, this video is not done yet. It will be by the time, obviously, you're watching it, but I'm gonna use an old video that's just unlisted, and I'm gonna show you how to upload it. So here in YouTube Studio, select the video, go to edit, and then down here, upload thumbnail. When you click on that, you can go to your file. We have it saved here, thumbnail.png. We're gonna go ahead and hit upload. And now I'll hit save, and we have a brand new thumbnail. Well, hey, I hope you got some value out of this video, and if you did, why don't you go ahead and add some value right back to it by hitting that like button, and also consider subscribing to this channel for more regular content like this. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so that way you don't miss out anytime I post a new video. Go out there, enjoy your thumbnails. Until the next time, my name is Xtopak. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.